Alright, boys and girls, so for our first reading lesson, it is going to be on lesson 11 called Comparing and Contrasting Varieties of English. So if you are not at Camp Life yet on page 12, please go ahead and get there because that's where we're going to be doing this lesson from. Give you a second to turn to page 12 in your booklets. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin. So let's look at what you're supposed to do today. So you are going to use dialect to draw inferences about the characters. So remember, an inference is like when you read something, I may say, what do you think the author is saying? You are giving it a guess, but you're going to use text evidence to back up your guess. So it's a guess, but with evidence. All right, and you're also going to write a well-organized, but you're not going to write a paragraph, maybe a couple sentences explaining your inference, okay, and why you have that idea or how you came up with that inference, using and quoting text evidence to support your inference. All right, so to start, we're going to look at our close reading questions. So we're going to be comparing the narrative voice in paragraph 2 of Camp Life to the dialect used by the boys in paragraphs 13 through 20. We're going to look at how they are different and how they help change the mood in each scene. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the words and phrases. You're going to see metaphors as well today. Now remember, a metaphor is comparing two things like a simile was, but similes specifically use like or as. But a metaphor compares things and they're not really mean literally what they say. So for example, raining cats and dogs. I'm comparing rain to cats and dogs, but it's not really raining cats and dogs. You don't see animals coming out of the sky, okay? So it just means that it's like really downpouring. So you're comparing two things, but you're not using the word like or as in a simile. So a metaphor is a type of figurative language. All right, so that's where we're going to go to. And so flip into your booklet. So please follow along with me. I know this is a little different, but this is the best way to do your reading lesson. And all you have to do is just follow along with the video and highlight what I highlight. Remember, I am model for you, and then you're going to do something with a partner, okay? And then you're going to do your own something on your own in your booklet. Okay, so let's switch over to our booklet now. All right, so I already kind of did the first one for us. I read aloud paragraph 2 and highlight this part right here where it starts to say, they tramped over decaying logs through tangled underbrush among the solemn monarchs of the forest, hung from their crowns to the ground with a drooping someone I know is going to correct me on that, but that's okay, of grapevines. So remember, like underbrush is, if you ever walked in a forest before, it's all that stuff you're stepping on. So leaves, sticks. If you think about our worms from our science, they like the underbrush. They hide right below the underbrush because they're like decomposers. So that's what the underbrush is. Dead leaves, dead sticks. And so what they are comparing is, and write this down in your margin, see that red? You go ahead and write that red down. They're comparing the forest trees to like kings, because they don't say kings, but they say crowns. Okay, so they're the solemn monarchs of the forest. So those are the trees. Hung from their crowns, so something hanging from the top, okay, to the ground, are like vines. Okay, so you can actually kind of picture that in your brain. You have the forest trees, and then you've got kind of vines coming down, and they're dropping all the way down to the ground. So this is a metaphor. They're comparing the forest trees to kings. All right, so what is our mood? So this is pretty formal. This is not the boys talking yet. So when we read the next one, it's going to be the boys talking. Remember, they don't really speak the greatest English. They are very laid back, so this is a very formal. This is the narrator, or Mark Twain, writing and introducing us to what the scene is and kind of what's going on. So make sure you got that down. They're comparing the forest trees to the kings, and the mood is that it's pretty serious, but they're getting ready to go for an adventure. They're being adventurous too. So that bottom part, serious and adventure, that's our mood. Okay, so go ahead and make sure you copy that down. Make it a little bigger for you. Whoop. Give you one more second to copy that down, so I can count to 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's move on. If you're still copying, just ask the sub to pause the video and you can catch up. All right, now skip ahead and let's make sure we're on the right one. Our close reading prompt says 13 through 20. So now we're going to look at 13 through 20. And I'm going to read this because this is where Tom and them start to talk. So I know now, explained Tom, somebody's drowned. So remember, they came across a steamship or a ferry boat and they heard this noise, and they already know at this point kind of what that noise is. And they're comparing of what, what it means. So like, why are they doing that? So they're going off of their prior experience. So Tom says, I know somebody's drowned. That's it, said Huck. They done that last summer when Bill Turner got drowned. So remember, they very informal, drowned. They don't have the best grammar. Okay. They shot a cannon over the water, and he just explains, and he goes through how the bread and the quicksilver. So let's skip it to 15. Yes, I've heard about that, said Joe. I wonder what makes the bread do that. Oh, it ain't the bread, so much, said Tom. I reckon it's mostly what they say over it before they start it out. But they don't say anything over it, said Huck. I've seen them, and they don't. Well, that's funny, said Tom, but maybe they say it to themselves. Of course they do. Anybody might know that. So there's kind of Tom's personality already coming out, kind of in charge, kind of, his way's kind of right. Of course it is, he's saying. Let me zoom in for a little bit, but you can also look at this in your booklet. All right, we got 2 more paragraphs to read. All right, 19. By jings, I wish I was over there now, said Joe. I do too, said Huck. I give heaps to know who it is. So this is where they start using some words that maybe is not in like what we would say. I don't really use the word heaps, and I really don't use the word jings. So this is where the dialect starts to come in, and it creates its own mood. So there's no metaphor in this one. This is just the dialect. So if you want to highlight what I highlighted, by jings, that part, and where Huck starts to say, I give heaps to know who it is. Okay? And this helps us create the mood that is curious, that they are curious, the mood's curious, and pretty lighthearted. They don't seem to be too worried. They're just kind of sitting back and relaxing. They're just really curious about what's going on. All right, go ahead and copy down the red and underline the jings and the heaps. All right, so you should be good to go now. So what I would like for you to do is find your own, and it can be anywhere else in the text. So I did 2 for you. So if you need help, you can grab a partner after the video. But what I would like for you to do is find a different one, either, the different language, or if you find a simile, or if you find a metaphor that helps you understand the mood of the story, I want you to go ahead and do that. I want you to find your own in the story. So don't copy, a different one. So you should have 3. You should have this one with the mood in the margins. You should have paragraph 2 with the mood in the margins. And I want you to find your own. So you're going to have 1 more. And you can do this with a partner, okay? Or you can do it by yourself. I will let you choose. All right, so I want you to find another way that the author, either Mark Twain's talking or how he has the boys talking, to tell you how the mood is. You're making an inference based off of what you find, how you think the mood is in that story. So picking some dialect, or if you can find a piece of figurative language, a metaphor or a simile, and just write in the margins like I did, what you think the mood is. Okay, and then underline your text evidence. Okay, should back up why you think the mood is that way. All right, so that's what you're doing for this lesson, okay? And so make sure you do that right after I get off or the video ends. You can do it with a partner. All right, see you in the next video.